Next is that Buchanan's theory or welfare attitude theory. This is the another important approaches in order to make clear about intergeneration equity burden. That is, this theory, that is Buchanan's theory, attacked that is orthodox approach in the year of 1958. That is, Buchanan attacked orthodox approach in the year of 1958. He interprets this theory or this approach as that is individual attitude towards that is economic well-being. Individual attitude towards economic well-being. This is explained by, that is, he explained, that is, Buchanan interpret this theory as individual attitude towards economic well-being. So how he explained attitude to the well-being or welfare here. So it is known as welfare attitude theory. Welfare attitude theory or Buchanan's theory here. According to his opinion, if in order to finance the public project, when government introduce tax revenue to finance the public project, this may reduce their current consumption, disposable income, thus it creates some sacrifice, adversely affect the community. So here there is a reducing or it decline the welfare that is enjoyed by present generation. Whenever government use tax revenue to finance the public project, tax revenue, it reducing the income earned by individual, because this income reducing their current consumption, that is income just transfer to their tax. So if there is a diverting their income to tax, reduce their current consumption, reducing their disposable income, at the same time adversely affect welfare of the individual. Because of the tax imposition, it adversely affect current consumption, create some sacrifice, at the same time reducing their disposable income. So it creates some declining the welfare or that is adversely affect the welfare enjoyed by the individual. This is one clause. And second is that is to financing the public project, they are used the loan finance. It does not create so much difficulty, because loan finance, it simply the transfer of liquid cash to government. That is in the same way, it does not create any burden to the future generation. Here there is a problem emerge, that is loan finance does not create any ill feeling or any problem or any sacrifice among the community. But problem created whenever to repay the loan finance, government implementing tax on the future generation. Government implementing tax on the future generation in order to repay the loan finance, it adversely affect future individuals or future generations well-being or welfare. That is known as Buchanan's approach or individual attitude, that is in the case of welfare attitude theory. And next is that the third important approaches of intergeneration equity burden, or here there is a controversial issue of the debt burden among the generation. That is the approach or thesis explained by, there are three important economists here. One is that Bowen, then Davis, then KOPF. These are the three important economists. That is, they explain that is the intergeneration equity burden. So this is a controversial issue. This is that is debt burden passed to the future generation or only in the present generation. That is the question here. That is intergeneration equity burden. Burden, is it only in the present generation, or is it shifted or transferred to the future generation? That is a debate between various economists. So this is the another important approach or theory explained by, that is Bowen, Davis and KOPF. According to their opinion, that is the loan finance, that is to finance the public project, they applied or used the loan finance to finance the, that is investment project, that's public investment project with the help of loan finance. Loan finance, that is the first generation purchase the bonds from the government, then they providing, that is fund to the government. That is, in the case, the loan finance, it shows that the first generation purchase the bonds from the government, and that is individuals or the first generation provides it fund to the government. Thus, the bond holders are the first generation. So, based on the loan finance, with the help of bond, or that is the first generation, does not adversely affect if the fund used for to finance the public project. To finance the public project with the help of loan finance. Loan finance from the first generation. That is, loans from the first generation show that their saving is used to, that's divert the or the purchasing the bonds. So it does not adversely affect their consumption or does not adversely affect their, that is adverse sacrifice or difficulty among the first generation. Simply the transfer of liquid cash to government, and they are the owners of the bond here. So bond holders are the first generation, and government, that is government get, that's liquid cash or saving from the first generation. That is known as loan finance. That is loan finance. It shows that this finance used to pay or to finance the public project. That's investment for the public project. Loan finance from the first generation shows that first generation it provide it liquid cash as fund bond. That is, it provided is liquid cash as, that is the debt to fund to the government. In return, government issue bonds to the first generation. It does not adversely affect their consumption, only that is saving, transfer or divert from private to the public or individual to the government. But the first generation, it take a decision. They sold their entire bonds to the second generation to get additional funds to purchase consumer goods during their retirement life. That is, in the case of those bond holders, they are the first generation. The first generation, that is they sell their entire bonds to the second generation to get additional income to purchase consumer goods during their retirement. That is entire bond they sell to the second generation to get additional income to purchase goods during the retirement. In that case, now bond holders are the second generation. So in that case, there is first generation get additional income here. That is, they purchase the, that is in the purpose is that to purchase the additional income used to purchase the consumer goods during the retirement time. In that case, they spent the entire income, that is entire income is additional income for spending activity in the present or first generation. But when the government take a decision to repay the, that is to repay the debt to fund, they imposing tax on the second generation. In that case, now they are liable to pay tax to the government. It reduces their saving and adversely affect their consumption also. Thus, debt burden transferred to the future generation, and saving of the first generation does not reduce here. This is the argument explained by Davis-Kopf and Bowen. The condition is that when there is a loan finance used to finance public project, it does not adversely affect first generation use its saving to purchase the bonds which are issued by the government. Now, that is the first generation is the bond holders. Second condition is that, so does not adversely affect here. Then second condition is that these bond holders, they are the first generation, they sell their bonds to the second generation to get additional income to purchase goods during their retirement. In that case, now that is the bonds are shifted from first to second. So does not create any capital to the second. That is, there is no productive capital in the second generation. Now they are, that is, only purchasing the bonds which are issued by the first generation. When the government take a decision to repay the entire debt to fund, now the second generation liable to pay the debt to fund with the help of taxation. Thus the second generation does not get any saving here. That is because the second generation now liable to pay the entire taxes to repay the debt to fund. It creates more burden to the second generation. No saving, but here there is a possibility of saving in the first generation. This is the another important approach or theory explained by these three important economists. That is the third important controversial issue based on the intergeneration equity burden. And last is that Musgrave's view about Musgrave's thesis of intergeneration equity. According to this, Musgrave used the word like, here there is a, that is in the case of loan finance, it spread the burden among different generations. That is in the case of the thesis, that is Musgravian view is known as intergeneration equity. Intergeneration equity. So here there is a equality or equity explained by Musgrave. According to his opinion, the debt burden spread among the different generations. Not only from present and future, but it is spread among the different generations. According to his opinion, if there is a to finance the public project with the help of tax revenue, to finance the public project with the help of tax revenue, definitely it creates some burden or sacrifice among the first generation. To finance the public project with the help of tax revenue or tax resources, definitely it creates some burden or sacrifice among the first generation. At the same time, he argued that his theory explained with the help of benefit principle, that is benefit principle of equity of burden, that is equity of burden debt distribution. His theory mainly based on the benefit principle of equity burden. According to Musgrave, that is the intergeneration equity burden shows that is the burden it spread among the different generations. According to this opinion, how it is spread among the different generations. If the government imposing taxes to finance the public project, it mainly affects the first generation. To explain the intergeneration equity approach, he based on the benefit principle, that is known as benefit principle of equity of burden in the debt. According to his opinion, that is the cost of public project that is equal to the cost of public project that is equal to benefit enjoyed by the, that is benefit enjoyed from the public project. Cost of public project that is equal to benefit enjoyed from the public project. In that case, in short, cost means tax. Tax equal to benefit or advantage equal to disadvantage. Cost of public project that is equal to cost incurred for the public project that is equal to tax. At the same time, the benefit enjoyed from the public project. That is the best measure to determine intergeneration equity burden. This is the Musgravian idea about to explain intergeneration equity burden. According to his opinion, that is tax burden, it is spread the different community. Not only for only one generation, but it is spread entire community. If there is a tax, mainly affect the first generation. So to remove this, he argued that the cost of public project that is equal to the benefit enjoyed from the public project. Thus he concluded that this is the best measure to determine intergeneration equity burden. These are the four important approaches here. One is that capital stock transfer, and second is that Buchanan's thesis, and third is that Bowen, Davis and Kopf, and last is that Musgravean view. From this we conclude that intergeneration equity burden determined according to the cost of public project, that is equal to benefit enjoyed from public project. Thank you.